The backstage hallway of America's Got Talent buzzed with nervous chatter, shifting feet, and the rustling of costumes. But in the middle of the noise, one person stood completely still, Elias Cruz, a soft-spoken dancer from Chicago whose reputation was already circulating among contestants. Some whispered he trained with ballroom legends. Others claimed he could glide without moving his feet. Elias ignored all of it. He stood quietly, eyes closed, earbuds in, letting the rhythm build inside him like electricity trapped in a glass bottle. When a producer came over to cue him, she paused, noticing the unusual energy around him. "You ready?" she asked. Elias nodded gently, so subtle it felt like a breeze moved his head. As he stepped toward the stage entrance, even the tech crew found themselves watching him, fascinated by the effortless flow in his walk. Inside the theater, the judges chatted casually, unaware of what was about to happen. Simon leaned forward with mild curiosity. Sophia smiled warmly. Heidi crossed her legs and tilted her head. Howie glanced at the list, Elias Cruz, dancer. He shrugged. "Another one," he muttered. But the moment Elias entered the stage, everything shifted. His presence wasn't loud, but magnetic. His posture controlled. His gaze calm. He bowed gently. "My name is Elias," he said softly. "I want to show you something smooth." The audience chuckled, thinking he was just being playful. The judges exchanged amused looks. But then the lights dimmed. A golden spotlight found his silhouette. The music pulsed once, deep, slow, velvety. Elias took one breath. And then he moved. The smoothness wasn't dancing, it was floating. A glide so clean the audience gasped. In 5 seconds, the theater knew. This wasn't just a dancer. This was the smoothest performer AGT had ever seen. The music deepened into a buttery R&B rhythm, and Elias shifted into a motion so soft it felt unreal. His feet barely touched the stage. Every glide looked like his shoes were greased with air. Then came the moment that melted the audience, the impossible lean. Without support, without momentum, he dipped forward at an angle that should have sent him face first onto the floor. Instead, he froze in that position, suspended, like gravity had forgotten him. Sophia covered her mouth. Heidi grabbed her arm. Howie stood up instantly. Simon's eyebrows shot sky high. Then Elias transitioned into a backward slide that made the entire crowd erupt. Not a moonwalk, no. Something far cleaner, sharper, silkier. His torso twisted one way while his legs drifted another, creating an illusion that tore every rule of physics. With each turn, the stage lights caught the shine of his jacket, creating lines of gold that streaked through the air behind him. Then came the signature move, liquid spin. Elias rotated slowly, but the world around him seemed to spin faster. A perfect illusion created by angles, balance, and an almost superhuman sense of timing. Even the camera operators whispered, "What is happening?" The music shifted again, this time into a soft crescendo. Elias raised his hand and pulled an invisible thread, making his body ripple like water from one fingertip to his heel. The sound of the audience murmuring blended with the beat. He ended with a final glide toward the judges' table, so smooth the front row leaned forward as if pulled by his momentum. He stopped 1 foot from the edge of the stage, chest rising slowly. Then he smiled. The roar that followed was instant. Elias had just redefined what smooth meant. As the applause thundered through the theater, Elias stood frozen in his final pose, breathing softly, completely unfazed by the chaos erupting around him. People were standing everywhere, even in the balcony. Some screamed his name. Others just stared, speechless. The judges' reactions were priceless. Howie was the first to find words, sort of. What? How did you do that, Lean?" he shouted, waving his arms like a man trying to land a plane. Heidi was still wide-eyed. "You moved like like honey on warm bread. Sophia jumped in. No. He moved like he had no bones. But Simon Cowell didn't speak. Not right away. His mouth was slightly open, his finger pressed against his lips. The audience noticed, and laughter broke out. Simon finally blinked, leaned into his microphone, and simply said, "That was pure magic." The crowd roared. "You didn't dance," Simon added. "You glided through reality." Elias bowed modestly, but his eyes showed warmth, not pride, but gratitude. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I wanted to make the world slow down. Just for a moment." The judges looked at one another. "Votes?" Simon said, but he didn't really need to ask. "Yes." Heidi shouted. "Yes." Sophia beamed. "Yes." Howie pumped his fist. Simon leaned forward again, his expression softening into something rare. "Elias, you're not just through. I think you're about to go very, very far in this competition." The audience exploded as Elias stepped back, hands over his face, overwhelmed yet calm. And just like that, AGT had found its smoothest dancer in history. Elias hadn't even made it back to his hotel when the world erupted. His audition clip, posted only minutes after airing, detonated across social media like a meteor strike. Comments shot upward by the thousands. Reposts doubled, tripled, multiplied. Hashtags like #SmoothestDancerEver, #GlideKing, and #Elias Cruz in reality climbed into global trends before he even sat down in the back seat of the production shuttle. When he finally opened his phone, the notifications lagged and froze from sheer volume. Millions of views within the hour. Reaction videos from dance coaches. Slow-motion breakdowns from physics students. Edits of his liquid spin syncing perfectly with R&B tracks, hip-hop beats, and even classical music. Someone even posted a meme, "Elias Cruz didn't defy gravity, gravity just took the night off." Back at the hotel, contestants gathered in the lobby just to replay his clip on the big screen. The staff huddled behind the counter, one employee whispering, "Bro's not even walking, he's teleporting frame by frame." Even though Elias walked in quietly, someone recognized him, and applause flooded the room. He tried to wave humbly, but his face turned a soft pink from embarrassment. Upstairs in his room, he finally breathed. The world had watched. The world had reacted. But the world hadn't seen everything yet. Elias stood in front of the mirror, replaying the performance in his mind. The smoothness, the control, the silence between glides, yes, it was strong. But he knew he had another level. A level he had never shown in public. A routine so technically demanding that even he wasn't fully certain he could deliver it perfectly. He placed his hand on the glass, his reflection staring back with calm determination. "The semifinals," he whispered to himself, "that's where I show them the real me." Outside, the world celebrated him. Inside, he prepared to surpass himself. The night of the semifinals felt different. Bigger. Louder. The audience buzzed with anticipation, holding signs with Elias's name glowing in neon colors. Cameramen took their places early. Even the judges sat straighter, sensing that something historic was about to happen. Word had spread, Elias planned something that would break the laws of movement. Backstage, Elias stood in silence, wearing a minimalist black suit with a silver-lined jacket that shimmered only when light kissed it. No dancers. No props. No distractions. Just him and the music he had crafted himself, a blend of velvet R&B, pulse-heavy bass, and faint whispers of wind. When the stage manager signaled him, he exhaled once and walked out. The audience erupted instantly, but he raised one hand gently. The entire theater silenced itself in seconds. The music began with a heartbeat. Elias stepped forward. Then came the impossible. He split his body in two directions, upper torso leaning left while his legs drifted right, creating a mirrored ripple that looked supernatural. The crowd gasped. Cameras zoomed in. His transitions were so smooth the stage looked liquid beneath him. Then he performed the new move he had trained in secret. The zero-gravity spiral. A slow-motion rotation that made his limbs float, fold, and glide as if underwater, yet he never lost control. Each turn created a silver halo around his jacket. Sophia stood up. Heidi covered her mouth. Howie kept repeating, "No way. No way." Simon didn't blink. The final moment came. Elias lifted onto the tips of his shoes and drifted backward in a perfect horizontal glide, ending in a kneeling bow as the lights snapped to black. The theater exploded. Screams. Applause. People crying. Judges on their feet. Simon leaned into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed the greatest dance performance in AGT history." Elias looked up, humbled, breath shaking. Knowing he had finally shown the world the real him.